जय श्री माता जी. Srimad Devi Bhagavat. If you want to know who Adi Shakti is, read Devi Bhagavat, said by Her Holiness Srimataji Nirmala Devi. Sankalpam. Mama Atmanah Sahajayogi Kutumbanam Atmonnati Prityartham Moksha Prapti Prityartham Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Pujanam Karishe. The Holy Recital of Srimad Devi Bhagavat.
Chapter 9, Episodes 36 and 37, Preventive Measures and Precautions to Avoid Going to Hell, Description of 86 Kinds of Hell. Savitri said, Mahabhag Dharmaraj, you are the complete knowledge of the Vedas. Tell me about those Satkarmas, virtuous deeds, which are most essential, most effective, universal, which destroy the evil effects of karma, most superior, which is most joy-giving, which grants all wishes, which confers auspiciousness, which releases one from fear and pain, by the grace of which one does not fall into temptations, which releases one from worldly bondage and rebirth, and which grants peace. Please also describe the other kinds of hell and the conditions which prevail there. After the body is cremated, what form does the dead person take in order to enjoy or suffer the fruits of his action? And how is it that in spite of the sufferings and tribulations, he still continues to exist? O Lord, please tell me all these things. Bhagwan Narayan says, Narad, upon hearing Savitri's request, Dharmraj invoked Bhagwan Sri Hari and began his description of those virtuous deeds which neutralize karmas. Dharmraj said, Vatse, Padivrate, Suvrate, most holy, chaste and pious one, the four Vedas, the Dharm Shastras, the Testaments, the Purans, historical scriptures, and the Vedang, 6 subordinate branches of the Vedas, have all praised and recommended the Panchadevopasana, worship of 5 gods as the supreme form of worship. This has the power to neutralize birth, death, old age, sickness, and sorrow. It is the source of great auspiciousness and joy. It grants siddhis. It saves one from falling into hell. On the tree of devotion, it creates new sprouts and branches, and it is the axe which cuts the tree of karma. This is the boat which takes one across the road to moksha. It is the means by which one attains salvation, sarupya, identification with God, samipya, proximity to God, indestructibility, and the lotus feet of the divine. Shubhe, my attendants guard the gates of hell. The people who do Panchadev Upasana do not see these hells even in their dreams. Those who do not worship Bhagavati Bhuvaneshwari end up in my domain. Those who observe the disciplines of Ekadashi go to Vishnulok. Those who continuously worship Bhagwan Sri Hari and offer puja to his image, they also escape seeing my fearsome domain. My attendants fear the devotees of Bhagwan Shankar in the same way that snakes fear Garud. When they mistakenly go towards them with their nose, I prevent them. My attendants roam everywhere, but they have no entry in the ashrams of the bhaktas of Bhagwan Sri Hari. Also, the bhaktas who worship Sri Krishna with mantras are greatly feared by my attendants. When the devotees of Bhagavati Jagadamba die, my attendant Chitragupt, recording angel of Yama, welcomes them with Madhupark, mixture of curds, ghee, water and honey and directs them to Brahmalok. Sadhvi, after that they gain entry into Manidweep Lok. Devi Bhaktas are so powerful and auspicious that the very sight of them destroys bad karmas. When these great, realized souls are born, great blessings are bestowed upon their clan. The sins of all the ancestors get burned to ashes like dry twigs in a furnace. In the presence of a Devi Bhakt, spiritual ignorance dissolves and Shuddha Ichcha takes its place, thirst for divine knowledge. Sadhvi, lust, anger, greed, death, sickness, old age, sorrow, fear, fate, evil deeds, indulgence, and sense pleasures, all these fail to have their negative influences in the vicinity of a Devi Bhakta, devotee of Sri Adi Shakti. Sadhvi, I have named the various categories of people who never see hell. Now I will explain what the Shastras say about what happens to the body after death. The five elements already exist: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. In the process of creation, the Creator produces a Deha Bij or nucleus or seed. The body, which is built up from the earth and other four elements, is called transient and destructible. It burns in the funeral pyre and turns to ashes. The jiva or soul which is left takes on the aspect of a finger bound by a ring. It assumes a subtle body which has to experience the fruits which it has merited. That soul does not turn to ashes. Rather, it comes into my jurisdiction, Sayamanipuri. The gross body can be destroyed by fire or by the ravages of time. But the subtle body can never be destroyed. The sharpest blade, the hottest boiling oil, and the heaviest iron cannot destroy it. It continues burning and suffering forever. Such is the awesome suffering. Sadhvi, I have told you what happens to a body after death. Now I will tell you about the description of the hell. Pativrate, Narak Kund, hell, is built exactly like the lunar system and has a vast orbit. It is built up of various kinds of flint stones, implements, and tools. They are everlasting and indestructible. They last till Pralay Kal, the dissolution. As per the desire of Sri Hari, these have been created for punishing sinners. Agnikund is a blazing pit of fire, many miles long and broad, with flames rising 100 feet into the air. It is always filled with screaming and shrieking sufferers, and my servants stand guard over them. A pit filled with fierce and dangerous beasts, which devour sinners, is called Taptakund. A pit called Taptaksharod Kund, filled with blackish salty water, which is continuously boiling. It is constantly burning sinners and is also crowded with crows. There is a mile long and a mile broad Vitkund, where souls suffer from hunger pangs, whose talus, fontanel area, dry and shrivel continuously and forever. The pit is filled with filthy substance and worms that gnaw holes in the body. There is no relief, it goes on forever. Then there is Mudra Kund, which is filled with urine, foul smell, and horrible worms. Criminals and evildoers suffer in this boiling filth. A pit filled with mucus, pus, and every unholy thing is called Shleshma Kund and is the place where heinous sinners are thrown. Those who have poisoned others are thrown into a pit called Gar Kund. This is teeming with beasts with fangs and poisonous biting insects. Dushika Kund is filled with tears, and sinners are constantly crying out with the pain inflicted by stinging and biting insects. Vasakund is filled with marrow and greasy fat. Shukrakund is filled with bodily excretions and horrible worms which attack the sinners who are thrown there. Blood-sucking and biting insects and worms infest Raktakund. Gathramal Kund is filled with foul-smelling excreta. Karnavat Kund is filled with wax from the ears. The sinners who are banished to this place suffer the pain of biting and stinging insects and worms. Great sinners are put into Majja Kund filled with marrow. Maskund is full of decaying and decomposed meat. Those who have sold their daughters are sent here and made to eat the flesh of their daughters. When the maggots and worms bite them, they scream in pain. Tamrakund is filled with molten copper and burning copper plates. Sinners are burnt in this continuously. Lohakund is a pit where sinners are burned with molten iron. It is surrounded by darkness, and cries of save me can be heard at all times. Those who eat skin and drink spurious drinks are sent to Charmakund and Taptasura Kund. Shalmali Kund is surrounded by thick thorny and pricky plants. It is full of suffering and sorrow. It is vast and can hold lakhs of sinners. Silk cotton trees with thorns more than 4 spans long and as sharp as needles have fallen inside this pit. Those who are thrown in get pierced and scream in pain. The agony is endless. Their throats and talus dry up with screaming, and they beg for water which they never get. There is a hell which is 1 mile long and 1 mile broad and filled with snake venom. Those who are thrown in jump about as if they are in boiling oil. It is called Vishodh Kund. The pit which contains oil, which is constantly boiling, is called Pratap Tail Kund. Because of its extreme heat, nothing lives in it. But sinners who are thrown in by my assistance have to endure the sufferings forever. Angar Kund is full of burning flames. It is dark and most fearsome, and sinners burn in it forever. The hell, called Kuntal Kund, is filled with razor-sharp iron pieces in the shape of trishuls. It is 8 miles long and a veritable bed of nails. The sinners who fall in get pierced and their throats, lips and talus dry up. Sadhvi, one pit contains mutated worms with fangs like serpents. These unnatural creatures bite and sting. The hell is called Krimi Kund. It is enveloped in darkness. Puya Kund is spread over 8 miles and filled with pus and purulent matter. The pit, which is as deep as a palm tree and filled with venomous snakes and serpents, is called Sarpakund. The snakes coil themselves around the sinners and bite them. Mashak Kund, Danshak Kund, and Gol Kund are infested with mosquitoes, gnats, and other stinging insects. Sinners suffer great agony, and their hands are shackled, and their bodies burn and bleed with the bites and stings. Vajrakund and Vrishchak Kund are full of scorpions. Sharkund, Shulkund, and Kadgakund are filled with weapons. The bodies which fall into these hells get pierced and cut with the sharp, pointed weapons. These pits get filled with the blood which pours out. Golkund is full of boiling water and enveloped in black and inky darkness. Worms with thorny bodies and sharp teeth inflict endless pain on those who are thrown into this hell. Nakrakund is pervaded by foul and rotten odors. Sinners who are thrown into this hell are attacked and bitten by fearsome crocodiles and alligators. Countless sinners languish eternally in Kakkund, which is filled with urine, excreta, flame, mucus, and other filth. Huge black crows keep pecking and clawing those unfortunate beings who are already suffering great distress. Manthan Kund and Beach Kund are filled with slime, maggots, and germs. It is a pit full of anguish and distress. Vajrakund has all varieties of creatures with sharp, pointed teeth which inflict painful bites. The darkness that surrounds this hell is impenetrable. The fires in Tapt Pashan Kund are fierce and furious. Those who burn here eternally shriek and run hither and thither. Tikshan Pashan Kund is filled with pointed razor-sharp flint and rocks. Those who have committed grievous sins are thrown into this pit. There is a deep pit filled with blood called Lala Kund, and my assistants push sinners deep into this. Masikund is filled with soot and black stones. Churnakund is filled with burning sand. Chakrakund spins continuously like a potter's wheel. It is fitted with 16 sharp spokes which keep cutting into the flesh of sinners who are thrown in. It is a long, winding pit and very, very deep. It is also fitted with boiling water. The air is filled with piteous wailing and lamenting. Kurmakund has turtles which bite and claw the sinners incessantly. Criminals and evildoers are thrown into an ever-burning volcanic pit called Jwalakund. Basmakund is filled with hot ashes. Eating and breathing these hot ashes causes extreme distress to the sinners who are inside. In Dagdakund, the limbs of sinners are constantly being branded with burning irons. This causes drying up of their talus. Pratapta Suchi Kund gives unbearable pains, is filled with pungent burning oil, and noisy fierce animals. The sinners are constantly being burnt and bitten and also get blind. Asipatra Kund has tall palm trees with razor-sharp leaves. Sinners who are thrown onto the leaves sustain deep gashes and the pit gets filled with their blood. There are constantly cries of "Save me, save me." Kshurdhar Kund is filled with sharp weapons with points like needles. Suchi Mukh is filled with fine pins and needles. Gokamukh Kund is filled with creatures with a face like a mule. Nakra Kund has creatures with crocodiles which inflict painful bites. Gajdansh Kund is a vast pit. Gomukh Kund is filled with creatures with heads of cows. There is a pit like a cauldron called Kummipak which is enveloped in darkness. Sinners are constantly bitten by creatures with sharp fangs and keep groping blindly. They keep fainting and reviving and suffering endlessly. Pativrate, sinners suffer in each and every pit and pay dearly for their sins. In addition, my assistants keep beating and flogging them without mercy. The hell which lies in Kummipak is considered the one with the maximum pain and suffering. In spite of all the torture, the body continues to exist and suffer eternally. It is the severest of all the hells. In Kal Sutra, sinners are chained by the bonds of eternity. They are constantly immersed in a pit of boiling liquid, and in turns they rise to the surface, sink to the bottom, faint, revive, and repeat the cycle. Avat Kund and Matsyod Kund are filled with thicker, glutinous liquid which is constantly boiling. It engulfs all who are thrown in. Asantur Kund gets its name from the stinging and biting worms which are constantly looking for victims. The sinners cry desperately for release, which never comes. Pansukund is filled with dust, which chokes and blinds the sinners. A hell which is filled with chains, fetters, snares, and traps is called Pashaveshtan Kund. Shulprot Kund is filled with pikes, darts, and tridents which pierce those who fall in. Even as they are falling in, sinners tremble with fear. As soon as sinners reach Ulkamuk Kund, burning torches and flaming wood is pushed into their mouths and throat. There is a vast hell called Andakup Narak. It is filled with deadly worms and insects and is enveloped in inky darkness. The sinners become so wretched that they start biting each other. They are given boiling hot water to drink. So the biting and the boiling misery goes on endlessly. Sinners who are thrown into Vedan Kund get pierced with sharp weapons. In Dandatadan Kund, sinners are beaten with iron rods and scream in pain. Jalarandra Kund is like a vast fishing net where everything gets trapped. In Dehachurna Kund, all the bodies are crushed. Their legs are put into iron fetters and their broken bodies lie inert but alive. Dalankund is the place where my assistants constantly beat and whip and flog sinners. In Shoshan Kund, the continuously heated sand and dust causes the throat, lips, and talu to dry up. Kashkund is filled with blood and skin and pervaded by the foul smell of decomposing flesh. The suffering is unbearable. Shurpakund is full of burning sand and sharp arrows. Jwalamukh Kund is eternally blazing. Sinners are dropped into this volcano to burn forever. Jihma Kund is filled with burning bricks and those who fall in swoon with the heat. Doomrand Kund is filled with acrid, thick smoke which chokes and blinds all those who fall in. In Nagveshtan Kund, cobras entwine the sinners and keep injecting venom with their sharp fangs. In all these hells, my assistants constantly inflict punishment on sinners by beating, burning, and frightening them. Savitri, I have described to you 86 kinds of hell. Is there any other thing you would like to know? Chapter 9, Episode 38, an attempt to describe the form, significance, and attributes of Bhagwati Bhuvaneshwari. Savitri said, Prabhu, please bestow upon me the supreme knowledge of bhakti to Devi Bhagwati, the Almighty Goddess. This is the only path to mukti, freedom. It is by this mukti that one can avoid falling into hell. It contains the power to destroy the greatest of sins. It has the capacity to cut the roots of the tree of Karma Vriksh, tree of action and reaction. Bhagwan, what is called as mukti? How many kinds of mukti are there? How does one recognize their characteristics? What does bhakti embody? How many kinds of bhakti are there and which destroys which effect of karma? O Prabhu, I most respectfully request you to tell me all these things. O foremost knower of the Vedas, please give me a concise knowledge of this great secret. Giving Nirmal Gyan and Nirmal Vidya to the spiritually ignorant merits punyas which are 16 times more than those earned by yagyas, pilgrimages, holy baths, charitable works, fasting, and tapasya. A mother's importance is 100 times more than a father's. This is the absolute truth. But Prabhu, a guru who imparts Nirmal Vidya, is 100 times more venerable than that mother. Dharmraj said, Vatse, the knowledge that you desire, I have already given to you. Now, the bhakti to Bhagavati Jagdamba that you desire is already contained in the boon that I granted you. You also desire to hear the attributes and interpretations of the qualities of Mool Prakriti Bhagavati Jagdamba, who is the cause of this material universe. This knowledge is profound and awesome, and those who ask, those who tell, and those who listen earn salvation and redemption for their clans. But it is rare and difficult to come by. Even Sesh, with 1,000 faces, could not successfully complete the description. If Mrityunjay Shiva, he who has conquered death, with his 5 heads, starts describing the Devi, he too will not be able to complete it. Brahmaji is the creator of the 4 Vedas and the entire universe. He is adorned with 4 faces. Bhagwan Vishnu is omniscient. But even these 2 gods have not been able to completely describe Devi Bhagavati. If Swami Kartikeya starts describing the Devi, his 6 faces will not be adequate to complete her attributes. The most auspicious Sri Ganesha is the guru of all the yogi gurus, but even he has not been able to fully describe the qualities and attributes of the Devi. The 4 Vedas contain the essence of all existing scriptures. The Vedas, as well as the scholars who have mastered the Vedas, have not succeeded in describing even a fraction of the qualities of Bhagavati Jagadamba. Sakshat Saraswati becomes inert and expresses inability to complete Devi Mahima, description of the goddess. When Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, Sanat Kumar, Dharm, Kapil, Surya, and all other illustrious sons of Brahma could not succeed in adequately and completely describing the attributes of the Devi, how can one expect such a feat from lesser beings? If yogis and munis have not been able to fully describe Devi Bhagavati Jagadamba, then there is no one who can do it. Not even I can hope to achieve this impossible feat. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and all the gods worship and meditate upon the lotus feet of Devi Bhagavati. This Devi is as accessible to her devotees as she is distant and unattainable to those who have no bhakti and recognition of her. The description of the Devi is extremely sacred. Some have only a partial glimpse of it. The knower of Brahmagyan, Sri Brahma, has knowledge of some aspects. The guru of the wise and learned, Sri Ganesha, has knowledge of other aspects. But Bhagwan Shankar has the most profound knowledge because he received this from Parabrahma Bhagwan Sri Krishna. It happened long ago. Bhagwan Shankar once visited Golok. Ras Mandal was in progress in a secluded forest. It was there that Bhagwan Sri Krishna has elucidated on some divine aspects of Bhagavati Jagadamba. After this, Sri Shiva returned to his abode and recited it to Dharma. Then Dharma repeated it to the auspicious Surya. Sadhvi, my father Bhagwan Surya had performed worship to Devi and got this knowledge as a gift. Long ago, my father wanted to give me the kingdom of Yampuri, but I did not want it. Suvrate, I was inclined towards asceticism and I wanted to do tapasya. It was then that my father recited before me all that he knew of the qualities and attributes of Devi Bhagavati Jagadamba. All that rare and precious knowledge I place before you. Listen, O beautiful one, the qualities and attributes of Mool Prakriti Bhagavati Jagadamba are so myriad and so vast that she herself is not aware of all of them. Then how can anyone else do justice? Just Akash is not fully aware of all the bodies within his ambit, so also Bhagavati is not aware of her limitless qualities and attributes. The first form of this Brahma Swarupini Bhagavati is Sarva Atma, the all-pervading Supreme Spirit. She, who is the causal of all the gods, who is the causal of all causes, whose various names are Sarveshwar, Lord of all, Sarvadhya, the first, the primordial, Sarvavit, all-knowing, Sarva Paripalak, who protects and nourishes all, who is Nitya Swarup, constant, perpetual, unchanging, Nitya Vigraha, eternal form, Paramanand Paripurn, complete divine bliss, who is devoid of material, physical, or elemental construction, Baulik Akar, and who is Nirankush, who cannot be obstructed, who is Nishank, fearless, dauntless, Nirgun, attributeless, beyond the three gunas and the three nadis, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. She is consciousness devoid of all the qualities and attributes of the mind, Niramay, salubrious, free from disease, Nirlipt, unattached, Sarvasakshi, silent witness of the action of the universe, Sarva Adhar, support of the universe. She is pure consciousness, unformulated, undifferentiated. And who is Paratpar, the most excellent? That same Almighty, by her Maya, supreme creator of illusion and confusion, even to the greatest of gods, she assumes the aspect of Mool Prakriti, the material cause of the universe. Bhagavati Bhuvaneshwari, giver of life to the universe, she is the origin of everything that has manifested or taken birth. It is only by union with her that Paramatma himself becomes Prakriti, the manifested material universe. Prakriti and Purush are so undivided and inseparable as sun and sunlight, moon and moonlight, and fire and combustion. The energy manifested in every particle as well as the primordial vibration is she, Satchit Ananda Swarupini, Bhagavati Jagadamba or Mahamaya. She is formless, but when she emerges for a divine purpose, in response to the prayers of her devotees, she assumes various forms. She first manifested as Gopal Sundari, which is to say that Parabrahma Bhagwan Sri Krishna was verily a manifestation of herself. It was a form of indescribable beauty. The body was pleasing. He was the embodiment of gentle graciousness. He was adorable and had a honey-like spring of sweetness. His nature was auspiciousness, like a beautiful garden of nectar-giving trees. His eyes were like fresh lotus petals, big and joy-giving. His skin was blue, like the color of a rain-filled cloud. He wore garments of pitambar, yellow garb liquidating samsara. He is both Madhuri and Samhara Shakti. He bears the ring of Saturn on his right finger. He is the axis of the whirling universes. His face is so full of Sahaja Brahma Jyoti that even a crore of full moons pale before his brilliance. He wore many garlands of the suns, moons, and stars. His splendor pervades beyond the firmament. He is charming in his darshan, speech, action, and mind. His entire person is adorned with ornaments and precious jewels. He is the Lord of Wealth, whose navel is auspicious like gold. The brilliant Kaustubh money rests on his expansive chest. Garlands of fragrant champa and malati hang to his knees. His body is anointed with precious paste of kasturi, kesar, aguru, and divine sandalwood. In the crest of his diadem shines the sacred gem Chudamani. A beautiful charming smile plays on his face. In both his hands he holds a murali, flute, and plays divine music. He was verily the abode of Leela, the divine play. He was the most peaceful and serene, fountain of endless Madhurya, most glorious and splendorous Lord of Sri Radharani, and dearer to her than life. He was seated on a gem-studded Singhasan in the center of the Ras Mandal. Sri Gopanganas, ladies of the Gopa clan, gazed at him in total adoration and sang his praises, which flowed as a constant stream of ambrosia. That Sri Krishna was the beloved, revered, and almighty God of all. Acknowledging him as the supreme power, Brahma, the creator, framed the ordinance regulating the laws governing fate and destiny, which is karmas. It is within these parameters that the gods' karma phal or fruits of tapasya and actions are governed. It is by his command that Bhagwan Vishnu is known as the preserver and is constantly engaged in the protection and preservation of the three worlds. And when it is time for dissolution, it is he who directs Kalagni Rudra, the fire of final destruction, to annihilate the creation. Bhagwan Shiva, who is the Guru of all the Gurus, who is known as Mrityunjay, he who has conquered death, Gyanvan, possessor of knowledge, Yogesh, the chief among ascetics, Prabhu, Paramanand, the supreme blissful soul, manifests because of him. Sadhavi, in obedience to him, the swift Pavan moves and the sun shines. It is only by his command that Indra reigns, death overcomes life, Agni burns, and water gets its coolness and liquidity. Holding him in awe, the Digpals, guardian deities of the quarters, guard all the directions, and the planets rotate and revolve in their respective orbits. The trees put out their flowers and fruits in accordance with his will, and out of reverence and obedience, Kal, time, dissolves the creation. Without his will, nothing can exist, either in water, the earth, or the air. And without his will, death cannot touch anyone, whether free, captive, or on the battlefield. It is at his command that air supports water, water supports the tortoise supports Seshnag, and Seshnag supports Prithvi, earth, and Prithvi supports the mountains and the oceans. The same Prithvi who is forgiving and enduring by nature also at his command produces priceless gems. And by his command, all creatures on this earth take birth and finally die. Pativrate, the lifespan of Indra is 71 Deva Yugas. The span of 28 Indras constitutes 1 day and 1 night of Brahma. 30 such days make a month, 2 months make a season, and 6 seasons make a year. 100 such years form the lifespan of Brahma. When Brahma ceases to exist, Maya Vishisht, Prakriti Brahma Paramatma drops one eyelid. When this eye closes, it causes Prakriti Pralaya. During this Prakriti Pralaya, when this happens, there is total dissolution of Devatas, movable and immovable life forms, the creator and the created, and all gets absorbed into the Nabi Kamal of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. Sri Vishnu, who reclines in the Bhavasagar, as well as his four-armed manifestation in Vaikunt, gets absorbed into the left side of Parabrahma Paramatma, Sri Krishna. Bhagwan Shiva, the Eternal One, the presiding deity of Gyan, merges into the Gyan of Paramatma Sri Krishna. All the Shaktis dissolve into Vishnu Maya Durga. Vishnu Maya Durga takes her place in the buddhi of Bhagwan Sri Krishna as she is the ruler of his buddhi. Swami Kartikeya, who is an Ansh, part of Narayan, gets absorbed into his chest. Suvrate, one who observes vows, the Lord of the Ganas, Deveshwar Sri Ganesh, is a part of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. He gets absorbed into his two arms. The manifestations of goddess Lakshmi merge into Lakshmi and Lakshmi merges into Sri Radha. All the gopis and the Dev Patnis, wives of the gods, also merge into Sri Radha, and Sri Radha, most beloved of Bhagwan Sri Krishna, gets absorbed into his prana. Savitri, the Vedas, and the entire scriptures enter Sri Saraswati. Saraswati merges into the tongue of the Paramatma Bhagwan Sri Krishna. All the Gopas of Golok get absorbed into the pores of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. The Pran Vayu, life's breath of all living things, dissolves into his prana. All fires merge into his Jatiragni, the fire in the stomach which digests food, and all gets absorbed into the tip of his tongue. Devotees of Vishnu, Vaishnav Purush, joyfully merge into the Charan Kamal, lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. The most excellent and the most essential devotees who have lived only on the nectar of devotion and surrender enter the being of Bhagwan Sri Krishna because they are already a part and parcel of him. He is called the Mahavirat Purush, into whose pores the entire creation enters, upon whose closing of the eye there is dissolution of universes, and upon opening of the eye, creation takes place. When 100 years of Brahma are completed, the creation gets dissolved. Suvrate, there is no count of the number of times creation and dissolution takes place, just as one cannot count the particles of dust in the earth. When dissolution is imminent, that all-pervading Paramatma merges with Mool Prakriti, Paratpar Swarupa, Almighty, Shakti to become one, and only one Parashakti remains, and that is called Nirgun. It is this being which is mentioned in the Vedas as Sadevad Magar Asit, the being who was the beginning. Bhagavati Prakriti, even though formless, is known as the energy which manifested. But she is pure consciousness, undifferentiated and indivisible. Therefore, at the time of Pralayakal dissolution, she also, completely untouched and unchanged, continues to be. There is no one in this entire creation who can succeed in adequately describing the qualities and attributes of this most supreme, most sublime Bhagavati Jagdamba. The four Vedas have revealed four ways of attaining mukti. In all of them, bhakti and surrender to God has been mentioned as the most superior, as it causes everything else to become insignificant and trivial. One mukti grants salokya, salvation, the second gives sarupya, identity or similarity, the third gives samipya, proximity to God, and the fourth gives nirvana, emancipation. Bhakta Purush, devotees of God, do not leave their bhakti in pursuit of these muktis. They even disregard Shivatva, bliss, Amaratva, immortality, and Brahmatva, true knowledge of the Supreme Self. Mukti is devoid of seva, servitude, while bhakti has intense and continuous seva. This is the difference between mukti and bhakti. Now listen to the revocation or neutralizing of destiny. Learned men say that birth is dictated by past karmas. The surest way to neutralize this is by complete devotion and servitude to Mool Prakriti Bhagavati Sri Devi. Sadhvi, this Tattvagyan, essential truth, stands firm and immutable in the Vedas and in the world. Therefore, Vats, you must take to this auspicious, obstacle-free path. After saying all these things, Suryaputra Dharmaraj granted life to Satyavan and gave him to Savitri with divine blessings. Then he prepared to leave. Seeing him go, Savitri fell at his feet and began to cry. She became sad that the most benevolent and generous Dharmaraj was leaving. Dharmaraj was pleased to see this. Tears of compassion filled his eyes. He said to Savitri, Savitri, after spending many happy years in the auspicious Bharatvarsh, you will go to the place where Sakshat Bhagavati presides. Bhadre, you go home now and perform worship to Bhagavati Savitri. On completion of 14 years of this vow, a woman gets moksha. This vow should be observed from the 14th day of the bright fortnight of Jesht, third month. The Mahalakshmi Vrat is to be observed on the 8th day of the bright fortnight of Bhadrapad, 6th month. O pure and virtuous one, this Vrat should be observed for 16 years. The lady who faithfully observes this attains the lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. On every Tuesday, Bhagavati Mangal Chandika should be worshipped. On the 6th day of the bright fortnight of every month, the auspicious Bhagavati Shashti should be worshipped. Bhagavati Manasa is to be worshipped on Sankranti day of Ashad, 4th month. During Kartik Purnima, Sri Radha is to be worshipped. Married ladies with children, virtuous and faithful wives who regularly worship Bhagavati Vishnu Maya, Durgati Nashini Durga, destroyer of misfortune, and Prakriti Swarupini Bhagavati Jagadamba are blessed with good fortune and happiness in this life and finally attain the lotus feet of Bhagavati Sri Devi. Devotees should worship all these aspects of Devi. You must also worship Sarvarupa Mool Prakriti Shri Bhuvaneshwari. There is nothing else in any world which compares with Seva of Parameshwari. Then Dharmaraj left for his abode. Savitri took her husband and returned home. Narad, after reaching home, Savitri told everyone the story of Savitri and Satyavan. Then, as per the boons, the father of Savitri begot sons, and her father-in-law regained his lost sight and his kingdom. Savitri herself gave birth to many sons. After a long happy life, Savitri and Satyavan entered the abode of Bhagavati Bhuvaneshwari. Because she was the ruler of Savita, the sun, and the presiding deity of Gayatri Mantra, she got the name of Savitri. And because she is the mother of all the Vedas, she is known in the world as Savitri. Vats, this is the complete story of Savitri and of Karmvipak, consequences of all actions, good or bad, of all living things. Now, what else do you wish to know? Chapter 9, Episodes 39 and 40. Manifestation of Bhagavati Mahalakshmi. Curse of Durvasa causes her to leave Devlok. Indra becomes sad and goes to Brihaspati. Naradji says, Bhagwan, I have heard from your auspicious mouth the stories of Dharmaraj and Savitri, Mool Prakriti Bhagavati Bhuvaneshwari, and Nirgun Swarupa Gayatri. I now wish to hear everything about Bhagavati Lakshmi. O foremost among the knowers of the Vedas, please describe to me her form and the different ways of worshipping her. Please describe to me all her qualities and attributes. Bhagwan Narayan says, Brahman, this happened in ancient times. At the beginning of creation, during Ras Mandal, Sri Radha manifested from the Vambhag, left side of Parabrahma Paramatma Bhagwan Sri Krishna. On all four sides were huge banyan trees. She was as youthful as a 12-year-old girl. Her complexion was as white as the champak flower, magnolia. Her countenance was most joy-giving. When she smiled, her face shone like a crore of full moons during Sharad Purnima. Her large eyes caused the full-blooming lotuses to pale into insignificance. By the desire of Parabrahma Paramatma Bhagwan Sri Krishna, she manifested a second form which was identical in dress, state, tejas, lustre, yash, splendor, kanti, beauty, vastra, dress, abhushan, decoration and ornaments, gun, qualities, tritya, deeds, smile, countenance, love and compassion. From the left side manifested Sri Lakshmi and the right side remained Sri Radha. Sri Radha took as her husband the two-armed most supreme Bhagwan Sri Krishna. Mahalakshmi also expressed the desire to have Bhagwan Sri Krishna as her husband. In order to preserve her prestige and dignity, Sri Krishna himself manifested in two forms. His right side remained the two-armed Sri Krishna, and from his left side emerged the four-armed form of Sri Vishnu. He presented Sri Mahalakshmi to Sri Vishnu as his wife. That Devi, who always lovingly looks after the world and bestows wealth and well-being, is known as Sri Mahalakshmi. In this way, the two-armed Sri Krishna became the husband of Sri Radha, and the four-armed Sri Vishnu became the husband of Sri Mahalakshmi. Surrounded by Gopas and Gopikas, Shuddha Swarupini Bhagavati Sri Radha grew in glory and splendor. Chaturbhuj, four-armed Bhagwan Sri Vishnu, accompanied by Bhagwati Sri Lakshmi, retired to his abode Vaikunth. The two gods Sri Krishna and Sri Vishnu are identical in every way. Bhagwati Sri Mahalakshmi, by her yoga siddhis, manifested in many forms. Endowed with all auspicious and prosperous qualities, she settled in Vaikunth as Mahalakshmi. And because of her benevolence and compassion, she was revered and worshipped by women. In heaven, she assumed the form of Indra's wealth and was known as Swargalakshmi. In Patal, she was worshipped as Nagalakshmi and in the palaces of kings as Rajalakshmi. And for householders, she is honored as Grihalakshmi. All these forms are partial manifestations of this Devi Mahalakshmi. She reigns eternally in her entirety in Vaikunth. She bestows success and auspiciousness to householders and dwells among them as good fortune. Among cows, she dwells as Surabhi, excellence and fragrance, and in yagyas, she presides as Dakshina. In the house of Ksheer Sagar, ocean of milk, she took birth as a daughter. In the beauty of lotuses, she is Shri, and for the moon, she took the form of Shobha, radiance and luster. It is from her that the solar system got its light. In all things, ornaments, jewels, gemstones, fruits, water, kings, queens, goddesses, planets, stars, all grains, clothes, holy places, image of gods, Mangal Kalash, rubies, pearl strings, diamonds, sandalwood, new shoots of trees, and new rain clouds, a part of Bhagwati Sri Lakshmi exists. Muni, the first person to worship Sri Mahalakshmi, was Bhagwan Narayan in Vaikunth. The second was Brahmaji, who performed Archana. The third one to worship her was Sri Shiva. Bhagwan Vishnu performed puja to her in Ksheer Sagar. After that, she was worshipped on earth by Swayambhu Manu, primal man, son of Brahma, Manvendra, a king, Rishishwar, Munishwar, and genteel householders. Gandharvas and Nagas worshipped her in Patal. On the 8th day of the bright fortnight of Bhadramas, 6th month, she was worshipped by Brahma. Narad, the celebrations lasted throughout the month in all the three lokas. On the holy day of Tuesday, during Chaitra, Pushya, and Bhadra, her puja began to be celebrated. Because Sri Vishnu worshipped her, all Triloki began to worship her with great bhakti. During the Sankranti of Push, 10th month, Manu installed an image of this Devi on a Mangal Kalash and invited the Devi. Then he offered puja. After that, in all the three lokas, this Mahadevi began to be worshipped. Indra also became her devotee. And Raja Mangal worshipped her in the form of Mangala. Following this, she was worshipped by Raja Kedar, Neel, Bhal, Subal, Dhruv, Uttanpad, Shukra, Bali, Kashyap, Daksh, Kardam, Vaivaswan, Priyavrat, Chandrama, Kuber, Vayu, Yama, Agni, and Varun. In this way, Bhagwati Mahalakshmi was worshipped by all. She is the supreme ruler of Aishwarya. She is called the embodiment of wealth and fortune. Naradji asked, Sri Mahalakshmi is the beloved of Bhagwan Sri Narayan and eternally presides over Vaikunt. This ancient Devi is called the ruler of Vaikunt. A long time ago, in order to honor the word of Bhagwan Sri Narayan, she agreed to come on earth as the daughter of Samudra Devata. How did that happen? Please tell me in detail. Bhagwan Narayan says, Narad, this is an ancient story. Due to the curse pronounced by sage Durvasa, the Devi Shri departed from Indra. All the Devas began to wander in Martyalok, mortal world. Lakshmi abandoned heaven and sadly returned to Vaikunt. Narad, she went there and merged into the form of Sri Mahalakshmi. The gods were grief stricken. In great distress, they came to the lotus feet of Sri Brahma. Making him their leader, they all proceeded to Vaikunt and surrendered themselves to the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu for refuge. Their plight was really sad. Their throats, lips, and talus had dried up. Then, in obedience to the will of Puran Purush Bhagwan Sri Hari, Sarva Sampatti Swarupa, the embodiment of all the wealth and fortune in existence, by her own power manifested as the daughter of the ocean. The Devata and Daityas combined and began Manthan, churning of the Kshir Sagar, ocean of milk. Mahalakshmi manifested from that ocean. Bhagwan Vishnu himself went there to receive her. This pleased the Devi and she placed a Varmala garlanding the bridegroom on Sri Vishnu, who was reclining on the ocean, and took her place beside him. Narad, by her blessings, the kingdom of heaven, which the Asuras had snatched away, was restored to the Devas. They sang stutis in thanksgiving and regularly worshipped her with pujas. Naradji asked, Brahman, when, why, and for what mistake did Brahmanishta, one possessing knowledge of the immortal self, and Tatvagya, possessing knowledge of divine philosophy, Munivar Durvasa pronounced a curse on Indra? Please describe the manthan done by the Devas. Which stotra so pleased the Devi that she gave a darshan to Indra? What brought about reconciliation between Indra and Durvasa? In your great kindness, please tell me all these things. Bhagwan Narayan says, a long time ago, sage Durvasji was going from Vaikunt to the mountain peak of Kailash. Indra saw him. The body of the Muni was glowing with Brahmatej. He was shining with the brilliance of 1,000 rays of the summer sun. His matted and braided locks shone like molten gold. He wore a white Yagyopaveet, sacred thread, and carried the skin of an antelope, a rod, and a kamandal in his hands. He was accompanied by countless students, all well versed in the Vedas and scriptures. As they approached, Indra lowered his head and offered pranams. Sage Durvasa blessed him and also gave him divine Parijat flowers which had been given to him by Sri Vishnu. Vain and conceited with Rajashri, kingship, Indra casually placed on the head of his elephant Airavat the divine flowers which had the capacity of destroying death, old age and sorrow, and even granting moksha. As soon as the flowers touched Airavat, he became filled with the same luster, qualities, and brilliance as Sri Vishnu. Then he left Indra and went into the dense forest. Indra could not mount that elephant, nor could he control him. Disrespectful handling of the sacred flowers caused sage Durvasa to become very angry. In extreme rage, he pronounced a curse on Indra. Munivar Durvasa said, Indra, puffed up in the pride of kingship, why do you insult me? I gave you these divine Parijat flowers. Instead of honoring them yourself, you put them on the head of your elephant. The protocol demands that if you ever receive Naivedya, fruits, or water that have been first offered to Sri Vishnu, you must most respectfully and reverently consume and enjoy it yourself and consider yourself blessed and fortunate. If you disrespect it and give it away, you have committed a sin equal to Brahma Hatya. Those who have the Saubhagya, great good fortune, to receive Naivedya and offerings from Sri Vishnu and then throw it away, lose their Sri and Buddhi. The one who receives offerings which are made to Sri Vishnu gets released for 100 ancestors and gets mukti for himself. The one who respectfully consumes Naivedya out of the offerings made to Sri Hari and continuously worships him with pujas becomes divine like him. When he visits holy places, they get blessed by the cool breeze that blows past him. The dust from his feet purifies the earth. Food which is not first offered to Bhagwan Sri Vishnu is just the same as the food in the house of an adulteress, coward, or Shudra. Food which is offered to Shivaling, Shudra sacrifice, a temple, the food prepared by one who sells his daughter, a prostitute, waste or stale food, leftovers, food cooked for a cremation, food in the house of a woman who is condemned by the Shastras, one who is on bad terms with his relations, a traitor, an ungrateful person, and a dishonest Brahmin are all considered extremely impure. But even if this food is first offered to Bhagwan Sri Vishnu, vibrated, it gets purified. Even if a Chandal, lowest and most miserable human being, regularly worships Bhagwan Vishnu, he gets blessed with the Shakti to merit salvation for 1 crore human beings. A person who has no bhakti for Sri Hari cannot even maintain himself. Even unknowingly, if one receives and honors Naivedya that has been offered to Bhagwan Vishnu, he gets released from the sins of innumerable past lives. And those who know and receive the Naivedya with utmost reverence and respect, all their past sins are burned to ashes. Indra, in arrogance and vanity, you have disrespected the sacred flowers Parijat, which are equal to an offering, and placed it on the head of your elephant. As a fruit of this action, Sri Lakshmi will abandon you and return to Bhagwan Sri Hari. I am a devotee of Bhagwan Narayan and I have no fear of Brahma or any of the Devas. I am not afraid of time, death, or old age. In fact, I fear no one. Your father Prajapati Kashyap can do nothing to me. Devraj, your Guru Brihaspati is ineffective against my fearless nature. Look, only the one who wears these flowers is worthy of being offered puja. On hearing all this, Indra fell at the feet of Muni Durvasa. He was trembling with fear. Full of repentance and shame, he cried loudly. Indra said, Prabhu, it is right that you have put a curse on me to destroy all this Maya. I do not regret the loss of my wealth. Please give me counsel and advice on wisdom and divine knowledge. Money is the root of all evil. Aishwarya sows the seeds of discontent and misfortune. It covers pure knowledge and wisdom. It is for this reason that it is called the biggest hurdle and obstacle on the path of mukti. It causes disturbance and temptation at every step. The Muni said, Devraj, wealth is the ankur, germ of birth, death, old age, grief, and sickness. A man gets blinded by wealth and cannot see the path to mukti. It makes one foolish and is more intoxicating than spirituous liquor. False friends and relations will stick to him like parasites. A man who is drunk with riches and power gets confused, his sense get dulled and perverted, he is overcome by vices, passion, and anger. He loses sight of the path of spiritual ascent and becomes unfit and unsuitable for any spiritual practices. This blindness is also of two kinds, Rajasic and Tamasic. The one who is completely ignorant of the Shastras is called Tamasic, and the one who is acquainted with the scriptures and institutes of religion is called Rajasic. The Shastras throw light on two kinds of paths, Pravritti, attachment to worldly objects, and Nivritti, salvation. The first part is fraught with suffering and sorrow, but human beings step onto it freely, happily, and without any hesitation, just like a bumblebee gets trapped in a pot of honey. This Pravriti marg is the root cause of birth, death, old age, and destruction. A being, by his own actions, merits degrees of births in different yonis, class into which animate beings are divided, which are 84 lakhs. After that, by the grace of God, he gets a human birth with opportunities to associate with pious and saintly men. This satsang is the most precious vehicle for crossing the ocean of illusion and the flame which illuminates all the tattva. Among hundreds and even thousands, it is rare to find one pious and virtuous man who can guide humanity to the path of mukti. Only after this a person gets the desire in his heart and the strength to break the bondage of attachments and attractions. He still has to pass through many births doing punyas, tapasyas, and renunciation. Then he comes on to the path of self realization. This path is free of impediments and obstructions and is very joy giving. Purandara, this knowledge that you wanted was given to me by my respected Guru. Brahman, upon hearing this discourse of Muni Durvasa, Indra felt the stirrings of detachment. Every day the desire for freedom from worldly attachments grew within him. He left the place and headed for his palace. Upon reaching his kingdom Amaravati, he found that it was overrun by asuras and daityas. All the devas were in distress. The situation was full of confusion and chaos. Families had been separated, and near and dear ones were missing. There were enemies everywhere. Seeing this, Indra rushed to find Guru Brihaspati. He found him on the banks of Mandakini, sitting in meditation upon Parabrahma Paramatma. When he looked again, he was standing facing the sun and paying obeisance with Ganga Jal. Tears of joy were falling from his eyes, his body was shining and blissful. That great Dharmatma, full of gravity, honored by all men, respected by his peers, most superior of his race, ominous and forbidding to his enemies, Guru Brihaspati was chanting mantras. Devraj Indra watched him for 3 hours, and as soon as he got up from his meditation, he offered pranams. When the Guru acknowledged him, he fell at his feet and began to weep. He told him everything, including the curse that had been pronounced on him by sage Durvasa. Guru Brihaspati, the greatest and wisest of Gurus, replied, Brihaspati said, Purandar, do not despair. Listen to me. A statesman does not panic when calamity strikes. Because adversity and good fortune are fruits of actions, they are transient. Fortune and misfortune are the fruits of actions of previous births, and this rule governs all beings. There is not use in becoming disturbed and anxious. It is for experiencing these joys and sorrows that one assumes a gross body. It may take even a crore of years, but every action bears a fruit which has to be experienced. This is an absolute and unchangeable law which was given to Sri Brahma by Paramatma Bhagwan Sri Krishna and which is contained in the Samaveda. After all the fruits of all the actions are completely discharged, only then a being gets the privilege of a birth in Bharatvarsh. A person is always followed by the consequences of crores of actions in crores of births. Purandar, they stick on like shadows and never leave till all the payment is made. The different kinds of time, place, and persons do have an influence on karmas. But just as a skilled potter uses pole, wheel, plate, and rotation to mold his clay into a beautiful pot, so also God Almighty uses Karma Sutra, rules governing fate or destiny, in dispensing fruits of actions. Therefore, Devraj worshipped that Bhagwan Narayan at whose command the universe was created. In all the three worlds, he is the God of all gods, the Master of all masters, the Protector of all the protectors, Creator of the creators, the destroying power of the destroyer, and the ruler of time. If a person who suffers a calamity or a misfortune just remembers Bhagwan Madhusudan, he sees only good in his situation and that becomes his good fortune. This advice has been given by none less than Bhagwan Shankar himself. Narad, saying this, the great Tattva Jnani Brihaspati ji embraced Indra. He blessed him and advised him. Chapter 9, Episodes 41-42. Bhagwati Lakshmi manifests from the ocean. Indra sings stutis and meditates on Devi Mahalakshmi. Bhagwan Narayan says, Narad, Devraj Indra meditated upon Bhagwan Sri Hari and then making Brihaspati ji their leader, he took all the devas and proceeded to the assembly hall of Sri Brahma ji. They reached Brahmalok, had a darshan of Sri Brahma and offered obeisance. Then Dev Guru Brihaspati ji apprised Brahma of the situation in heaven. Brahmaji laughed and said, Vats, you belong to my clan. You have been endowed with great wisdom. You are my great grandson. You have a great guru like Brihaspati and you are the king of the Devas. The great Vishnu Bhakt Daksh Prajapati is your maternal grandfather. How can a person with such a pedigree get into ego? Because it is only if there is some flaw in father, maternal grandfather or guru that flaw has an influence and makes one a possible rebel against Bhagwan Sri Hari. This is a fact. The all-pervading Bhagwan Sri Hari resides in the body of all living things. The very instant that he departs the body dies. He is the Lord God and we are his dependents. I reside within all living beings as mind, the controller of senses. Shankar assumes the form of knowledge and resides within all beings. Bhagavati Sri Radha, beloved of Vishnu, presides as Prakriti. Buddhi, wisdom, is the form in which Durga resides within a being. Prakriti Devi resides within as hunger, sleep, and other forms. The reflection of the spirit is the soul. It is this soul which assumes a gross body. When Atma, spirit, who is the ruler of the body, gets ready to leave, then these others also prepare to leave, just like those accompanying a bridegroom. I myself, Seshnag, Vishnu, Dharm, Mahavirat, and all of you are all paths and devotees of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And you have insulted and disrespected the flowers that were offered to that same Lord Bhagwan Sri Krishna. The flowers that were used by Bhagwan Shiva to perform puja to the lotus feet of Sri Hari by some great good fortune came to be in the possession of Muni Durvasa, and he, in his benevolence, gave it to you. But you did not give due honor and respect to it. Any person who bears on his head flowers that have dropped from the lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Krishna is considered more superior than the gods and is worshipped first at any puja. The most powerful misfortune has played a trick on you. Because of your casual and disrespectful treatment of the puja flowers of Bhagwan Sri Krishna, Bhagavati Sri Devi has become upset and has abandoned you. Now you must come with Brihaspati and me to Vaikunth. I give you a boon that if you faithfully serve and worship Lakshmikant Bhagwan Sri Hari, you will again attain Devi Lakshmi. Narad, saying this, Brahmaji took all the gods with him and proceeded to Vaikunth. There he got a darshan of the eternal Parabrahma Bhagwan Sri Hari. The most effulgent Lord was ablaze with his own brilliance, brighter than 1,000 midday suns. He who has no beginning, middle, or end was sitting in peace and glory. The four-armed Bhagwan Sri Hari was surrounded by his attendants and Bhagavati Saraswati. Bhagavati Ganga, complete with the four Vedas, was present, in complete adoration and worship. Brahma and all the gods bowed in obeisance. They were filled with vibrations and feelings of awe and devotion. With tears of joy, they began to sing stutis in praise of Param Prabhu Bhagwan Sri Hari. Brahma, with bowed head and folded hands, narrated the situation, and the gods who had been deprived of their kingdom wept. They were overcome with fear and insecurity. They wore no ornaments and were deprived of their vahanas, conveyances. Shri had already departed from them, and now they were dull and listless. Seeing their sad plight, Bhagwan Srihari spoke to them. Bhagwan Srihari said, Brahman and all you gods, have no fear. As long as I am, nothing can happen to you. I will give you the most auspicious Devi Lakshmi, who will endow you with Aishwarya. But I want to first tell you some relevant facts upon which you must meditate. My words are the truth, for your benevolence, full of wisdom, and will bear good results. Just as the entire universe and all living things are under my control, so also I am under the control of my devotees. I can do nothing out of my own desire. If any faithful and sincere devotee of mine gets displeased with someone, then Lakshmi and I cannot abide near him. This is the absolute truth. The great and auspicious Muni Durvasa is an Ansh, partial manifestation of Shankar and a Vishnu Bhakt. He has boundless devotion to me. He has cursed you. Therefore, I have withdrawn with Lakshmi from your house, because where there is no sound of the conch, where Tulsi does not dwell, where Shankar is not worshipped, and where realized souls are not fed, there Lakshmi does not reside. Brahman and Devas, wherever my devotees are insulted or aggressed, there Mahalakshmi is filled with anger and rage, and she withdraws herself from that place. The person who does not worship me and who does not observe as holy the days of Ekadashi and Janmashtami, from the house of that foolish man Lakshmi goes away. Where my name is sold, or the daughter of the house is sold, and where a realized soul is not fed, from that house my beloved Lakshmi gets upset and leaves. A person who is born of an adulteress or is the husband of an adulteress is called a great sinner. Lakshmi can never live in that house. The Brahmin who harnesses bulls can never be dear to Bhagwati Lakshmi. He who has an impure and unchaste heart, who is cruel, who criticizes and defames, and who is a murderer, Lakshmi is afraid to even drink water from his house. So she leaves that house. He who invites Shudras to his house to perform pujas, who eats the food of cowards, who unnecessarily uproots fragrant grass, who scratches and scrapes the earth with his nails, who is a pessimist, who eats his dinner at sunrise, who sleeps by day, who has sexual activities by day, who is devoid of morals and virtues, in such a foolish man's house my beloved Lakshmi cannot abide, and she leaves. The ignorant and disgusting man who goes to bed with wet feet, or who goes to bed naked, who chatters incoherently and senselessly, from his house also Devi Lakshmi goes away. The one who rubs the oil of his head on the body of others, who keeps a musical instrument on his lap and plays it, causes Lakshmi to get angry and leave his house. The one who does not observe fasts, who does not pray at the prescribed times, and who does not worship Vishnu, from the house of such an unholy man, Devi Lakshmi definitely leaves. The man who insults realized souls, who aggresses them, and who indulges in killing, causes Jagat Janani Lakshmi to leave his house. But where the praises of Bhagwan Sri Hari are sung, where he is worshipped, there resides the bestower of auspiciousness and Aishwarya, the Devi Bhagwati Lakshmi. Pitamaha, in the places where Bhagwan Sri Krishna and his bhaktas are honored and praised, there presides his beloved Bhagwati Lakshmi. Where resounds the conch, and wherever reside Shankh, Shaligram and Tulsi, there will reside Bhagwati Lakshmi. Wherever puja is offered to Shivaling and where Durga Puja is performed, there resides the goddess Lakshmi. Where realized souls are honored and given food, where the gods are worshipped, there resides the lotus-eyed goddess Lakshmi. Narad, Bhagwan Srihari then spoke to Sri Lakshmi. He said, Devi, may it please you to use your powers and manifest as the daughter of Kshir Samudra, ocean of milk. Then Jagat Prabhu spoke to Brahma, Padmaj, you must churn the ocean. Lakshmi will manifest, and then you can give her to the Devatas. Muni, after this, Kamalkant Bhagwan Sri Hari removed himself from their presence. The gods began their journey to Kshir Sagar. All the Devas and the Daityas had gathered for the churning. They used the mountain Mandarachal as the churning stick, Kachap, tortoise, as the vessel, and Seshnag as the rope, and began to churn the Kshir Sagar. As the fruits of their action, they received from the ocean Dhanvantari, divine physician, Amrut, ambrosia, Uchchai Shrava, the white horse of the sun, countless gems, Airavat, the most excellent elephant, Lakshmi, Sudarshan Chakra, and Vanmala, garland of wild flowers, as the most priceless gifts. Muni, then the greatest devotee of Bhagwan Vishnu, Sadhvi Sri Lakshmi, placed the Vanmala on the neck of Sarveshwar Sri Hari. Then, after puja was performed by the Devas, Brahma and Shankar, she just spread her glance over the abode of the gods. In that instant, the Devas got released from the curse of Muni Durvasa and regained possession of Devlok from the Daityas. The Devas became happy and prosperous again. Just by hearing this story, one can receive all the joys and happiness in life. Now, what else would you like to hear? Naradji said, Prabhu, you have told me the most auspicious and joy-giving description of the qualities of Bhagwan Sri Hari, the highest spiritual knowledge, and the story of Bhagavati Lakshmi. Now please teach me about meditation and stotras. Bhagwan Narayan says, Narad, it happened a long time ago. Devraj Indra took a holy bath on the shores of Kshir Sagar. He wore 2 new clothes, installed a kalash, and performed puja to 6 gods. They were Ganesh, Surya, Agni, Vishnu, Shiva, and Durga. After worshipping them with perfumes, flowers, and other precious substances, Indra respectfully recited the Avahan, inviting Aishwarya Swarupini Bhagavati Mahalakshmi. Then he performed the puja as taught to him by his Purohit Brihaspati and guided by Brahmaji. Muni, at that time, in that sacred place, presided Munis, Brahmans, Gurudev, Sri Hari, Dev Vrind, assembly of gods, and the embodiment of knowledge and bliss, Bhagwan Shankar. Narad, for the worship of Bhagavati Mahalakshmi, Indra offered parijat flowers dipped in sandalwood paste. He meditated upon her in the way that was taught to Brahmaji by Bhagwan Sri Hari. I am going to tell you that dhyan. Listen carefully. Param Pujya Bhagavati Mahalakshmi presides and reigns over the 1,000-petal lotus of Sahasrara. Her supreme brilliance is more dazzling and overshadows than the light of a crore of Sharad Purnimas. This supremely chaste and virtuous Devi is illuminated by her own lustre and glory. Her darshan grants boundless joy and bliss. When she manifests, she is of the form of glowing molten gold. Gem-studded jewels and ornaments adore her. She is robed in golden yellow. This most pleasing Bhagavati Mahalakshmi has a most beautiful smile on her face. She is eternally youthful. She graciously grants wealth and well-being. I worship Kalyan Swarupini Bhagavati Mahalakshmi. Narad, after meditating thus, Indra performed puja of the goddess Bhagavati Mahalakshmi, and as taught by Brahma, he offered 16 kinds of precious materials. For each substance that he offered, he chanted the appropriate mantra with the deepest bhakti and shraddha. All ingredients were offered in abundance. The puja mantras are like this. Bhagavati Mahalakshmi, be pleased to accept this gem-studded asan which has been crafted by the master Vishwakarma. O Kamalalaya, this is pure and holy Gangajal which all desire to pour on their heads. Everyone desires to have it. It is blazing fire for burning the wood of sins. Please accept this sacred water for washing your lotus feet. Padmavasini, be pleased to sip this Arghya, Gangajal, on a tray decorated with conch, flowers, chandan, and durva grass. O beloved of Hari, please accept this fragrant oil perfumed with flowers and this sweet smelling amlaki powder. These garments are woven from the finest cotton and silk. Be pleased to accept them. O Devi, these golden ornaments, studded with precious gemstones, are being offered to adorn you. Sri Krishna Kante, the resin from the trees have been dried and mixed with fragrant ingredients. Please accept this holy dhoop. This pleasing and most exquisitely perfumed sandalwood is offered at your lotus feet. Be pleased to accept it. Sureshwari, kindly accept this burning deep which is benevolent to the eyes of the world and which dispels darkness. Devi, this Naivedya has been prepared with tasty and delicious ingredients. It is rich and sweet. Be pleased to accept it. Devi, these food grains are believed to be Brahma Swarup. It is the sustenance of the world. It satiates hunger and thirst. Be pleased to accept this. Mahalakshmi, the sweet delicacy has been prepared from sugar, ghee, and agahani rice harvested in the 9th month. Be pleased to accept it. There is a most delicious sweet called swastik made from ghee and sugar. Be pleased to accept it. O eternal Devi, be pleased to accept these ripe fruits and the sweet milk from the sacred cow Surabhi. O Devi, this is jaggery made by cooking sugarcane juice over the fire. Be pleased to accept it. Devi, the powder of jawar and wheat has been mixed with jaggery and ghee and cooked over fire. Be pleased to accept it. O Kamale, be pleased to accept this fan and this pure white whisk to disperse divine cool breeze. Be pleased to accept this betel leaf rolled with camphor and fragrant ingredients. Devi, be pleased to accept this Sheetal Jal which quenches the thirst and wets the parched lips of the world. O Devi, this garland has been threaded with the most beautiful and most fragrant flowers of all the seasons. Be pleased to accept it. Krishna Kante, this most odoriferous, exquisitely perfumed, auspicious sandal paste is offered at your lotus feet. Be pleased to accept it. This holy Tirth Jal, which is itself pure and which purifies all that it touches, is offered as Achaman. Be pleased to accept it. O Devi, this seat, studded with precious gems, covered in rich cloths, and decorated with flowers and sandalwood garlands, is offered at your lotus feet. Be pleased to accept it. Not only these, but every precious ingredient in the world is placed at your lotus feet. Be pleased, O Devi, to accept it. Muni, Devraj Indra chanted all these prescribed puja mantras and offered all precious ingredients to Bhagavati Mahalakshmi. Then, with great bhakti and shraddha, innocent joy, he recited the great Moola mantra 10 lakh times and obtained the fruit of mantra siddhi, where mantras become effective. This Moola mantra is like a Kalpa Vriksha for everyone, a tree which yields everything desired. This had been given to him by the grace of Brahmaji. The mantra is to be said in the following way. First, the seed of Shri, which is Shrim, seed of Maya, Hrim, seed of Kam, Klim, and seed of Vani, Aim. Then add Kamala Vasinyai and last Swaha. Om Shrim Hrim Klim Aim Kamala Vasinyai Swaha. This is Mantra Raj, which was used by Kuber to praise and worship Bhagwati Mahalakshmi. As a fruit, he received Aishwarya. It was by this efficacy of this mantra that Daksha Savarni, the eighth Manu, got the title of emperor, and Mangal became the ruler of the 7 islands. It also granted for Priyavrat, sage Uttanpad, and Raja Kedar the title of Rajendra, emperor. When Indra succeeded in getting Mantra Siddhi, Bhagwati Mahalakshmi gave him a darshan. Varadayini, bestower of boons, Devi Mahalakshmi was seated in a vehicle encrusted with precious gems. Prithvi, with her 7 islands, was pervaded by her brilliance. Her Shri Vigraha, divine form, was as white as the champa flower. Precious jewels and ornaments increased her beauty. She had a smile on her face and was waiting to grant boons to her devotees. The necklace of diamonds got added lustre by being on her divine neck. She glowed like countless moons. Seeing and beholding this tranquil and peaceful aspect of the creatrix of the universe, Indra started singing stutis. His whole being was thrilled with vibrations. His eyes were filled with tears of joy, and his hands were folded in obeisance. By the grace of Brahmaji, he knew the crowning glory of stutis, and with these he began to praise the great goddess. Devraj Indra said, "Obeisance to Bhagwati Kamalavasini, salutations again and again to Devi Narayani. 1,000 pranams to Krishna Priya Bhagwati Mahalakshmi. Obeisance to the Devi Bhagwati Mahalakshmi, whose face is like a lotus and whose eyes are like lotus petals. Salutations again and again to Bhagwati Mahalakshmi, who is also called as Padmasana, Padmini, and Vaishnavi. Obeisance to Sarva Sampat Swarupini, embodiment of wealth, and Sarva Aradhya, most worshipful Devi. Salutations again and again to the Devi who inspires bhakti to Bhagwan Sri Hari and who grants joy to her devotees. O bejeweled lotus, O Shobhane, you dwell on the Vakshasthal, breast of Bhagwan Sri Krishna and become the cause of all actions. Your form is as the beautiful moon. I offer you pranams again and again. I offer pranams to the greatest of goddesses, Mahadevi. I offer pranams to Vriddhiswarupa, wisdom, Bhagavati, who bestows wisdom on her devotees. O Devi, you preside as Mahalakshmi in Vaikunt, as Lakshmi in Kshir Sagar, ocean of milk, as Rajalakshmi in the palaces of kings, as Swarga Lakshmi in heaven, as Griha Lakshmi in households, as Surabhi in the seas, and as Dakshina in Yagyas. You are Aditi, mother of the Devatas. You are called Kamala and Kamalalaya. The Swaha, which is uttered during Havya, and Swada, uttered during oblations to ancestors, are your divine names. It is you who supports and sustains the creation in the form of Prithvi. O Devi, who are constantly engaged in the worship of Bhagwan Narayan, your form is pure and pleasing. There is not even an iota of anger or violence within you. You are called as Varada, Sharada, Shubha, Paramarthada, and Haridasya Prada, the giver of boons, pure knowledge, auspiciousness, salvation, and a place in the service of Sri Hari. When you withdraw your presence, the earth and the whole creation loses its essences and becomes as worthless as ashes. In your absence, all living things become lifeless and limp. You are the universal mother of all life forms, and their bonding is a sign of your presence. It is only by your grace that one gets dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. Just as a baby depends on its mother for nourishment, so also the whole creation is dependent on you for the fulfillment of their desires. A child may survive without his mother, but without you, O Devi, the universe cannot exist. This is the absolute truth. O Ambike, it is your nature to be easily pleased. Therefore, be pleased with me. My kingdom is in the hands of my enemies. By your grace, I desire that it is restored to me. O Haripriye, till I had the good fortune to have your darshan, I was devoid of friends and relations, a beggar, and minus my kingdom and possessions. But now I know that I will receive pure knowledge, dharma, auspiciousness, dignity, power, majesty, Aishwarya, valor, and victory over enemies. Narad, after this prayer, Devraj Indra and all the gods bowed in obeisance to Bhagavati Mahalakshmi. Their eyes were filled with tears of joy and love. Then even the deities Brahma, Shankar, Seshnag, Dharv, and Keshav interceded for them. This pleased the Devi, and she granted a boon to the Devas and offered a garland of divine flowers to Sri Krishna. All the Devatas returned to their abodes, and Sri Mahalakshmi took her place beside Bhagwan Sri Hari. Muni, Brahma and Shankar also blessed the Devas and returned to their respective abodes. This stotra is most sacred and powerful. If recited 3 times a day, it can grant auspiciousness and royal dignity of an emperor like Kuber. For human beings, it has to be sung 5 lakh times to become effective. One who sings it continuously for a month receives great Aishwarya and blessings. There is no doubt in this.
The Holy Recital of Srimad Devi Bhagavat. Jai Shri Mataji.